on the East Coast of the US. Good afternoon, good noon to those of you in Europe. Good now to everywhere else in the beautiful ball of dirt, air, and water that we exist upon. My name is Ryan Erickson. I do community organizing for the BetaCodex Network and occasionally and with joy do contributing work for Red 42. And with me today, as always, is the inimitable Niels Pflaeging. Niels?
Hello, Ryan. Hello, everybody. This is our ninth episode already. It's going well, I think. The idea was
Yeah.
initially to produce something weekly, and it's we're doing it, right? I'm happy about it.
Yeah, little over 2 months that we've been
Yeah.
on this journey, and
And you kind of came up with this topic all by yourself. I do not really know what we will be talking about. So
yeah, well, the idea of innovation, right? The idea of innovation and me thinking about the principles and the 12 principles and market steering and what does in a traditional organization, there's a lot of talk around the innovator's dilemma, and that the decision to serve a market comes from on high, and that the great ideas happen in this sense of
in the mind of the
in
leader, Steve
mind
Jobs
of
had
the
all the ideas.
exactly
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Or pick your person, Elon Musk,
yeah,
Bezos, whoever, and that seemed to me, oh, okay, that's antithetical to a democratic organization and people working with each other, for each other, in service of a market. And then I thought to myself, just conceptually, okay, so if you are a cell on the periphery of an organization, where is how does that spark of innovation happen, and where does that happen? Well, I got to thinking about it more, and I think, well, if you are in a cell that is connected with a market and you are engaging with the market deeply, well, if you are in that, you're cross-functional, you're sensing the market need, and you're saying, oh, because the market is doing this in this way, oh, you say, oh, there's a known unmet need that's being articulated to us from the market to the periphery. Or there are people with ideas in the cell at the periphery who say, well, maybe we should go in this direction, and that will serve the market in this way. And that if that happens, then I would imagine, again, this is where I want to hear where you're coming from with it. Then there would be a sense of value creation to meet that unarticulated market need that would drive the revenue, and then the whole flow process to meet that newly identified market need and the value being created for it. So that in my mind is the connection of the beta principles: market steering, with us, for us, an autonomous cell periphery, with organizations within the center to meet that market need. So that to my mind is what innovation looks like, or would look like, in a beta organization, be it software, manufacturing, whatever. So that's my thesis.
well
But
put. Well put. I mean, we spent 4 minutes. You did it all. This is the shortest session we ever did. And cut.
whenever it ends, yeah, whenever it stops, whenever it's over, it's over. Oh my God, I can't remember the open space principle. Okay.
What to add? I mean, you put it very well, very eloquently as well. Yeah, yeah. So, what do we want to talk about?
Well, so then it comes around. Well, okay, so we have. The other thing that came to me in
Yeah.
this is a little bit of a preview of next week in terms of the cell structure design paper, is that in the periphery of an organization there are small cells that have different purposes. There are I think it was the P cells and the I don't know, the D cells. I forget what you were saying, but
And S cells, I
the
think.
S cells.
Yeah.
There's standard
T cells, delivery cells, I think. Yeah.
delivery cells and project
Mhm.
cells. So if a project need arises, this is where I'm thinking that
Yeah.
the innovation comes, is that, well, we have they're dynamically created and that people affiliate to meet this market need that's been articulated.
Yes.
And I think, yeah, I mean, the more and more I think about it, well, yeah, sure. That's we articulate need. We gather people to meet the need, the willing people who
Yeah.
want to be involved with that project, and that's
Yes.
similar to how projects work in a traditional organization. Similar in that, yes, we have a temporary team meeting a temporary need over a period of time, but it's not forced, coerced, planned, controlled, managed, monitored, planned actual variances punished, and all that kind of stuff. It's much more, again, human centered, focus, and egalitarian.
Yeah. By the way,
Um,
maybe if we start talking about this more thoroughly, maybe it's worth reminding ourselves and others about where these ideas come from. I think the first origin of these ideas, there are two origins, I think. One is reality of cases, case studies. Companies like W.L. Gore, very highly innovating. Of course, everybody knows Gore-Tex. Or you are a bass player. You know one of the greatest products as well.
well,
Elixir strings. Do you use Elixir strings on your alembic bass?
oh no,
Elixir,
I was kind of a
no?
rotosound guy and maybe D'Addario, but
Because W. Gore kind of reinvented the core of strings. It's
oh
the
yeah,
brand of that product is called Elixir. So
okay, yeah, the actual, you're talking about the material in the core, yeah. Oh,
yes,
hmm.
yes. But the brand, they have it's not their brand. I think it's licensed to other companies, but these strings are called Elixir. So they have this different kind of plastic core. Sorry for saying this, but I don't know. PPP is, I think, the right name for the product. The practice of W.L. Gore illuminated this, what we will be talking about, and the practice of Toyota and other companies that are more beta companies, but more innovation driven, more innovating, right? And the other source is systems theory, because you kind of alluded, or we already alluded to this, the conventional view of organizational innovation in companies is that there must be some hero inventor, innovator who kind of dashes out brilliant inventions, this God-shaped type of person.
The divine right of kings kind of thing, right?
That dashes out innovations, which is of course a total myth. Yeah. And systems theory says something very different, that if you look at organizations as peaches with a center and a periphery, the periphery should be in charge. The periphery is paid directly by the customer. And with innovations, the problem is that the client or customer doesn't pay for that. So
okay,
that is why all innovation work is a role that's always of the center, and that doesn't mean that the center has power, but it's a dirty little role.
well, okay. So that was something that actually came up in a conversation I had with another practitioner this morning. Was about that role of investment and sponsorship. That in a traditional startup, well, the investors, okay, it's our money. We're investing $1 million here. We want 10 million out, and you are going to do what we say because we are investing the cash.
And that doesn't work. Exactly.
Well, yeah, it doesn't work from a human perspective, but it could deliver and has delivered, products and services that may have been successful in the marketplace in terms of equity funding.
Or has some innovation happened based on that kind of what I would call a stupid process, in spite of the stupid process? I wouldn't say that because
it's not the process. It's just the process.
This is one of the things that we found at W.L. Gore and Google, at least until 10 years ago or so, that there was the clear insight that when innovation starts, you cannot ask the shareholder or the board or something for approval, because then you fuck it all up. Yeah. Because innovation is really a social process. It's dirty. It's highly interactive. By nature, most innovation processes will fail. Otherwise, it would be. It cannot. I mean, there's inherent risk in innovation. So
you can't.
Regardless of if you believe 5% of things work, or 20% of things work, or 30%, which would be very high, most things will fail. So how do you make innovation informal? How do you provide innovation with funds, with means, with resources to get started? And one of the most beautiful solutions for that, we found that at several companies, but one of the best examples is WL Gore, where anybody having an idea gets funded by others who can skip in $10,000 or could. These are not human numbers, but where anybody could spend $10,000, fund an idea with $10,000, and then only from a certain level where you need hundreds of thousands, you would have to go to managers to get approval. So this kind of informal funding by everyone. Everybody can fund projects, innovation projects, ideas by either donating time, donating money. That is, I think, a very smart way of getting rid of hierarchical influence in innovation.
Yeah.
Innovation. Here.
And the other thing I was thinking about, that this, again, I forget exactly where I came across it, but there was some kind of diagram of that a lean organization that's truly lean will be delivering certain capacity towards steady state value delivery, and then some capacity towards waste, and then their management overhead. But then there's the capacity for innovation and learning is at this level. But that in a truly lean organization, the capacity for innovation and learning and the slack you have for that, and where you allocate funding, is a much higher percentage. That's intentional. That you, I don't know about reserving capacity or something like that, but in this, I'm kind of wandering into something that I saw and I'm not exactly sure, but it rang true to me, because if all you're doing is fighting fires, if you're paying you're paying the management tax and all this stuff, we got to deliver. Where is the slack? Where's the space? Where's the spirit for innovation?
Yes. That's why in command and control organizations are highly unlikely to bring up innovation. They have the same kind of they might have the same quality of people, but command and control inflicts so much pain, stress, and waste upon people and teams and the organization as a whole, that there will hardly be the energy to overcome those barriers and produce innovation. So innovation is not something that you have to drive or that you have to bring in. It's something that you have to create conditions to unfold. It's like learning. You cannot create learning in people. This learning journey idea that, you organize a training program and so on. You cannot do that for learning. You cannot do that for innovation. Innovation management is an oxymoron, of course. Right? Of course, it seems banal, but then what is the other side? The other side is to allow for invest time for people. This is also something that you can learn from Google and others, historically at least. I'm not speaking about Google today, but a little bit back in history. This idea that ideally people should dedicate just 4 days a week to their daily job, and 1 day a week to innovation, which would mean 20% of invest time. And I think those principles are very important. Then you need something like co-funding. And then you need something like communities of practice as well to support this kind of nerdism or organization internal nerdism. And you need an idea that, of course, you shall not create too many barriers to innovation through rules and budgets and so on. So decentralization is really the key, but it's important to understand that cells or projects that form around innovation will always be cells or projects in the periphery, in the center, in the organization center. Because not the periphery, because the client doesn't pay.
They can't pay for a product that doesn't exist.
Exactly.
And that's so then there also becomes a quandary of, okay, so if we're going to assume that there are no pure beta organizations yet, you are perpetually becoming a beta organization. I think you've said that before, and that it is
I wouldn't say that. No, I would not say that. Wait, sorry for interrupting.
Well, no, sure. It's your challenge yet, because I thought I heard you saying that every organization has an improvement challenge ahead of them.
Yes, of course. I mean, Toyota has it, right?
Respect for people,
everywhere.
continuous innovation, continuous improvement.
But still, I think that every organization falls into one of the two categories. I mean, we don't have to agree on this, and anybody watching or hearing this doesn't have to agree on this. But observing an organization, any organization, in any given period or moment of time, it will fall in either the alpha or the beta category. Command and control, decentralized and democratic and self-organized, coherently self-organized. It will fall into any of those. Regardless of that, of course, both kinds of organization can and will and shall improve. I mean, alpha organizations try to optimize themselves all the time. It's usually a very fruitless exercise. Beta organizations also have to do that. They are more likely to reap success from their investment in improvement. Kaizen is a great example at Toyota of how to organize this call, this create a language around this, structures around this. Yeah. So I would always say that no, any organization you can say it's alpha or beta. It's really simple. It's like in a factory, you can walk into a factory and say if it's a lean factory or not a lean factory. There's so many indicators. Then of course you might say, oh, okay, you are somewhat lean. You have some things here, but you can improve a lot. Still some things would have to be there. Or you would say, you're trying to do the right thing, but you should overcome the system to really get lean. You're still trying to optimize alpha with lean.
You're doing the wrong thing righter kind of thing.
The right thing in the wrong system.
Yeah.
You're trying to do the right thing in the wrong system with this, which is bound to fail, that kind of thing. Yeah. By the way, this is a very important point. Could be another conversation entirely, right?
Or in terms of
how to spot the difference between alpha and beta organizations. But I think there are millions, gazillions of indicators.
This came up in a podcast you did recently. Like, what does an alpha organization smell like? An alpha organization stinks. What does a beta organization smell like? That's also interesting. The smell thing. I forget the exact person who thought that up. But in software, we talk about code smells. What is this code? There's something goofy about that code. It's a dead parrot or it's rotten fish kind of thing.
Tell me about it. We have this software company, Comenius, where we have that kind of code issue.
You're airing dirty laundry here, maybe?
No, it's just that obviously you always have some code that doesn't smell right at a certain point. It's also it's like you either change it or it becomes obsolete after a while. It's like what Peter Drucker said, that today's obvious truths will become tomorrow's lies of wrongs, so to speak, because time changes and the quality of code, of course. It changes. It needs to evolve over time.
Well,
it's natural.
And this is the issue of technical debt. There's thought about building quality,
and that piles up because things change, right?
And then the other thing, again, once this is maybe, and we're kind of wandering a little bit, but the idea of organizational hygiene, right? So there's so hygiene also, but then the idea of discipline. Then the idea of preparation, and then the idea of practice. There is a theme for all of those things, and it's health. How do you keep your organization healthy? By continual practice, by preparation, being able to respond to this thing that happened, or in the music business now, I need to be able to get this gig now, right? I'm going to go because I'm prepared. I can take the call to do this studio hit or to do this, that, and the other. And so a healthy organization is one that is doing that continual, you're brushing your teeth, you're taking a shower every day, and that.
And I think innovation is much more like that as well. It's more of a routine thing. Like in our own network, in the BetaCodex network, you're also involved in this discussion. That we always challenge everybody to say, look, if we are doing this, there must be research. I mean, even this series of podcast-like series of videos, there must be, at some point, we must have a research outcome from this. It cannot be just existing for itself. There must be everything must lead to some kind of innovation. Otherwise, we are stalling. And we cannot afford that in an ever-changing world. So we must. There's like a line of hunting line, a line of hunters, and to keep ahead of the fray, you must always run cannot be outrun by others. You must outrun the others still to stay in front. So
Well, it sounds like
innovation
relative
is
targets.
exactly, and of course, innovation should be this daily routine where you generate ideas very constantly and to sort them out and see what should be followed up on, and where eventually you might put more resources in and then focus upon and then create something real. That is the innovation. It's more the filtering, the intelligent letting happen than the managing. It's not something that you can manage, of course.
Well,
and of course, you mentioned another thing. I have to pick up on this. You beautifully mentioned this, and this cannot be over accentuated. This myth that the client or the market will tell you what to do, that's a real myth. In innovation, that doesn't happen. The client can tell you about an existing product if it is shit or if it works, or if it should be better or something like that. That can be expected. But and this is something that W. Edwards Deming articulated so brilliantly, that you can never expect the client to tell you what to invent. You have to invent by yourself. The ideas must come from within, and then the client can tell you an opinion. You educate the market about the new product. Products can never be created or invented or suggested by the market. That doesn't exist. It's one of these myths that through market research you might find the innovation out there. No, that's just bullshit. Yeah, every company has to educate its market. So for that, you have to innovate and start the conversation.
This implies something that's actually, that Clayton Christensen says in The Innovator's Dilemma, in terms and jobs to be done, really. So we think about what is the job that this particular product is serving for a person currently, right?
Yes.
And how might that need be served better, more efficiently, effectively, to meet whatever purpose we believe in that is good for the people we care about. So what is this is the idea of the unarticulated need. And that it's exactly what you're saying, that, this behavior that I'm observing because I'm connected to the market, and I am connected to the purpose of our organization within the sphere of influence or sphere of activity that we have, that because I'm tuned into that, because I have mastery in that domain, because I have continuous preparation, I can sense and respond those key words. I can sense and respond to those needs.
And of course, who is better? You already said this at the beginning, but it's worth elaborating a little bit more on. Is no part of the organization is better prepared to sense the market and respond to it intelligently than the periphery.
Yeah.
And here's the thing that some people find hard to grasp, because that's like the dry side of systems theory, or the dark side of systems theory, is sometimes that it's a little bit more abstract than we wish it to be. Yeah. So imagine that the periphery senses a demand, and so in the periphery, it's most likely, it's not the only thing that can happen, but most likely ideas for solving an unasked for client demand, most of the ideas would pop up in the periphery. So ideas are likely to pop up in the periphery because there's the pain is there, the pain of dealing with the market and the market demands and so on, that might be shifting or wobbling. And so ideas are likely to pop up in the periphery. So how does the innovation come to the center? Because I said that innovation is always a role of the center. And it's very simple. In systems theory, or in this value creation structure that we always talk about, in org physics and in the Peach model or decentralized model of organizing, we're talking about roles. So somebody who's working on a client project or delivery or whatever it is in the periphery and has an idea, the moment that person contemplates the idea, bloop, that very person has a role in the center. And then, so that person might lean back, contemplate the idea, center. And then that person might shift back forward, continue the conversation with the client, bloop, periphery again. So it's the same people who can have roles in the center and in the periphery. That's right for everyone in an organization, the way we look at it in Beta. So center doesn't mean other people who are in headquarters. It means people who at that particular point in time work on innovation.
And this also implies there's a distinction there too between fluid teams and stable teams. And
Yes,
that's again that's an idea that's flirting around in the agile space in terms of, oh, we need to keep these people together for this project for this period of time, and have the scrum.
people have no idea of innovation, sadly,
Well, well,
counterintuitively, but that's why they talk a
well,
lot of
well,
shit
well.
about
I think
this.
that
Well,
the idea of the stable team
it was just an
I get it.
it
I
just
get the sarcasm there, but
yeah.
it's about the social density, the collaboration that over time you get this team that really flows, that has a groove, right? So and you want to mess with that. In the
Yes.
period of time where the Beatles are together and they can make this beautiful music, and then they start to hate each other, around Let It Be or what. But the I think the point I'm getting to, while the people in that cell may change, the purpose of that cell, again, depending whether it's a project cell or a delivery cell, that cell, the constellation changes, but the structure of the cell lives its life in a way, almost as if it were a cell in a living system that
Yeah, and usually I would say usually, but not always. People would dedicate their time. People would work only part time usually on innovation. Sometimes it might be full time, but most people will dedicate only. So they might have a job in the periphery, a full time, a daytime job in the periphery, and a dirty skunk work job in the center at some point. Yeah, but of course you might also have people dedicated 100% to certain projects, innovation projects in the center, which have to be paid for by the periphery. This is very important. The money will always come by the periphery. So the periphery also, if when innovation happens, the periphery stays in charge because the money must come from the periphery, not from the CFO, not from the CEO, not from shareholders. This whole notion is totally alpha, and we turn it outside in beta and saying, well, the periphery it owns the money with the clients, so it has the money, and all financing for investment that happens again in the center necessarily, the funding must come from the periphery. You don't need shareholders.
okay.
You might need shareholder approval if you spend $100 million on a production line at some point, of course.
So
yes, but that's a different a detail, an administrative detail, so to speak.
oh, okay. So there's a use case that comes to mind in terms of there well, I don't know if there have to be, but it's coming to mind that at some point there may be instances where an organization may seek external funding to meet a unarticulated need, because and that, to me,
Yeah.
again, that's a quandary that, based on what we're saying, that the periphery always funds that. And then
Yes.
in cases of innovation, well, there's a certain amount of funds that are used for innovation. Well, what if we want more dollars to feed that innovation? So, is I bristle at
I like to say
is
that's
that
trivial.
against the rules to seek external
No,
funding?
but I like to say that's trivial. That's the trivial part.
Okay.
And of course, I understand that this is counterintuitive to most people. But look, if you have a project that is so advanced that you know that, okay, now's the time to put $50 million in investment there for additional staff or a production line or a new factory, or make it $500 million or whatever size of the company it is.
Yeah.
But that's the simple part. That's when the hard work is already done at that stage. Because that's when you walk to a bank or to your shareholders or whatever you need, where you get the money from, or and you get the money. That's an administrative process that the finance guys have to do.
Oh,
I was a finance guy once, so I think I have earned the right to speak lightly of that job. Because but I always get these, Ryan. I always get these objections.
yeah, but
in my workshops too, in my consulting work as well. Oh, but that cannot work if you need 100 million of funding. And then I say, no, but the innovation, the hard thing is to get it to the point where you can say confidently, look, this is worth putting 10 millions, 50 millions, 100 millions, $500 million into. Now it's just up to finance guys to approve it or to kill it, and that might have dire consequences, So I think innovation is more this, getting it to this stage. That's the hard work of innovation, because that requires what we lightly sometimes call creativity. Many ideas. Many ideas flowing into the process, and some money and some time, flowing into the process to get the idea to a quality that it's not an idea anymore, but that you can say, okay, this is a good prototype, this is a decent concept, this is a workable first version of the product.
It's usable, viable, feasible, minimum viable product.
Exactly.
And that we have chosen to take a bet on, to make a bet on this, and to make a case for that, to get external funding to feed that need.
Exactly.
So this
and usually I think there's one mistake that most alpha organizations do. They never evaluate the risk before they put the serious money into it. In a beta organization, I think the risks will always be contemplated. Even if you only put $10,000, somebody should ask, a peer at W. L. Gore putting money, $10,000 into somebody else's idea, that person should already ask, what are the risks? What are the chances? What does it look like? Is this idea, is it high risk or is it low risk?
Have you done your homework? Have we done our homework?
Yeah,
exactly. Have you done homework?
Yes.
And this brings me back to a basic theme, and what is a common argument against self-organization, and that is against this idea of organizational democracy. That if we don't have command and control, at least at some point, then it's just going to be chaos. And it's people doing whatever they want to do in whatever way they want. But no, we're talking about an intentional design for cells in the periphery, behaviors that get built, and agreements that are made between people. And in certain extent, because we exist in a nation state that has rules and regulations, there need to be named roles, or roles, maybe not always the person, or it's shared maybe, but that it's not chaos. It is a way of working, being, and thinking that is, again, fit for complexity and fit for human beings, and that we can utilize a hierarchical structure maybe as an interface to the nation state and the regulatory structure, and also have within our designed boundaries, within our cell structure and our performance, our relative targets, our internal marketplace and our external marketplace. This is not chaos. This is
self-organization is the opposite of chaos. The chaos, I always very much like to highlight that this chaos, organizational chaos, Kurt Lewin gave this a name 100 years ago. He called it laissez-faire. Yeah? Laissez-faire?
Yeah, laissez-faire. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah? It's like déjà vu. The one of the things that people in America know in French, right?
Yeah, the few.
Laissez-faire, that's like what the Americans today will call fuck it.
Yeah.
Fuck it. I don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck, right? So laissez-faire is that just 100 years ago in French. Yeah. Okay, so laissez-faire, and this is, I think, it's brilliant that you're bringing this up also in the context of innovation. Actually, command and control, managed steering, the pyramid model of organizing, that is highly laissez-faire. It has become totally laissez-faire. I mean, it was always slightly laissez-faire, because you put on rules like the travel policy. That's one of my preferred examples for this. You have it, every larger company these days has a travel policy. That's totally an alpha illusion of control. And in fact, it creates laissez-faire because nobody gives a shit about the rules. But then again, you don't punish because you have to fake that everybody's following the rules, obeying the rules, even if they don't, and if some assholes are just doing whatever they want to. In self-organization, there would be peer pressure, there would be much higher levels of transparency. There would be, social density or social cohesion much higher than in alpha, than deemed possible in alpha, where you have departments, parallelism.
Where you have fear. Where you have fear there.
And fear, tyranny, exactly.
And that if you've driven the fear out, what's left? and I go in there and I say it's love, and that love is the polar opposite of fear. That we show each other love and compassion through accepting each other and also challenging each other to, I don't believe you, but if you don't trust each other, if you have zero respect, there's no trust, and then that erodes the safety. I say it's sociological safety, not necessarily psychological in the individual.
So psychological safety is this thing that Amy Edmondson described in 1999 in teams. There's the certainty in teams that you do not have to be afraid of being punished, overly criticized,
Exactly, and that's individual.
mobbed or whatever. That's psychological safety.
And
It's nothing else.
say,
It's a very team-specific concept.
Right. Yeah. And again,
and it's very important to
well, that's a topic for another time. Because I have some opinions about that based on just what is psychology versus sociology. But
yes, good. Okay.
So I think we're at about 35, 40 minutes after. I see there are a few people who are dying to talk with us, quite possibly, and
Nice.
so want to feed those needs. And if you are seeing this, and it is roughly 9:36 a.m. in the U.S. and 3:36, I guess, in the EU and CET, and we'll be on betacodex.org/live. I should be reading this across the screen. betacodex.org/live to talk with Niels and I for a few minutes, maybe 2.5 hours, as it was last week. Who knows?
Not today.
Not today. Not today. We have stuff to do. All right.
Today we'll make it a little bit shorter.
All right.
Innovation, don't stifle it. That's my final point.
And why control people who you want to create the conditions so they can liberate themselves, empower themselves, and take authority for themselves based on their mastery and be authorized by their peers.
Beautiful. Let me put in another quote by Alfie Kohn about innovation.
Okay.
He says, if you want to really kill innovation, reward it.
Okay.
That's brilliant.
All right. So now I got to go back to Alfie Kohn. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining us today. Check in with us on betacodex.org/live, and we'll see you next week.